But being friendly and being a friend, I think, are two different things. I think there are many whites who act friendly toward Negroes. A fox acts friendly toward the lamb. And usually the fox is the one who ends up with the lamb chop on his plate. The wolf doesn't act friendly, and therefore the wolf has more difficulty in getting the lamb chop in his plate.
I'd like to point out, though, that...
And I say that because it is usually if you study the structure of the Negro community, economically, politically, civically, psychologically, and otherwise, it's controlled by the white liberal, who usually poses as the friend of the Negro, who actually differs from the white conservative in the same way that the fox differs from the wolf. Their appetite is the same. Their motives are the same. It's only their mannerisms and methods that differ.
I would agree that no doubt there have been a large number of whites who have posed as liberals and as friends of the Negro and who have time and again betrayed the Negro.
All right, all praise to our Heavenly Father, the Most High Yah, name of our Lord and Savior. Some of y'all say Yahusha, some of y'all say Yahweh Shah, and some of y'all say Jesus. All right, so in this video, I wanted to show you that Malcolm X clip first so that you would understand, what Malcolm X was talking about is the one that you really can't trust, are these liberals, okay? Now, before we continue on, the last video that I just done, many of y'all just saw it about the Canary mission. If you haven't seen that video, go and watch that video, after this one or whatever, so you'll know exactly what this was about, right? The reason why I'm doing this. Because as soon as I've, that video that I, done yesterday finished, I had people start telling me, that Anna Kasparian had done a video about Canary Mission 2, right? And what I always tell y'all about these liberals, you can't trust them because, with these Khazars, they will play both sides of the fence, right? They play both sides of the fence and they've always used Negroes, which we know are the true children of Israel, right? They always use the white conservative against the white liberal to put us in the middle and to just get us caught up in all this political chicanery, right? So let's go back to Malcolm X. I got another clip that I want y'all to hear from Malcolm X where he explains this. And then after that, we're going to get into this, this Anna Kasparian, because I want y'all to see who she really is, right? And then after that, we'll go in and we'll talk about, what she had to say as far as the Canary mission stuff is towards the end of the video. But now let's go back and let's listen to Malcolm X.
In this crooked game of power politics here in America, the Negro, namely the race problem, integration, civil rights issue, are all nothing but tools used by the whites who call themselves liberals against another group of whites who call themselves conservatives, either to get into power or to retain power. Among whites here in America, the political teams are no longer divided into Democrats and Republicans. The whites who are now struggling for control of the American political throne are divided into liberal and conservative camps. The white liberals from both parties cross party lines to work together toward the same goal, and white conservatives from both parties do likewise. The white liberal differs from the white conservative only in one way. The liberal is more deceitful, more hypocritical than the conservative. Both want power, but the white liberal is the one who has perfected the art of posing as the Negro's friend and benefactor. And by winning the friendship and support of the Negro, the white liberal is able to use the Negro as a pawn or a weapon in this political football game that is constantly raging between the white liberals and the white conservatives. The American Negro is nothing but a political football, and the white liberals control this ball through tricks or tokenism, false promises of integration and civil rights. In this game of deceiving and using the American Negro, the white liberals have complete cooperation of the Negro civil rights leader who sell our people out for a few crumbs of token recognition, token gains, token progress.
All right, so y'all see, right? Everything that Malcolm X said, almost about 60 years ago now, maybe even longer than that, right? Everything that he talked about, you can see it playing out right now as we speak. And this is what, I'm going to show y'all in this video. The liberal is a lot more cunning than the conservative. Remember, the conservative stands for we're supposed to be God, family, country, right? This is how they get white Americans, evangelicals, to saying, okay, we stand with Israel because they're the true people of God and Jesus was a Jew. So the bottom line is we have to stand with them. So this is how they have, get them to vote for them, even though these people are not God-fearing people. And this is now why you're seeing some of the Christian evangelicals starting to say, whoa, we ain't supporting that, right? But now the liberal is the one who's supposed to stand for the rights of humankind, civil rights, right? So anytime they see all of this stuff happening bad to people, right, what they go in is saying, oh, we stand up for your civil rights. We don't believe in God, all that God religion stuff. We don't believe in all that, right? But we stand up for the individual rights of every human being, right? So this is where they always come in. And when we were getting oppressed, back in the 60s, the reason why Malcolm X was calling it out is because they were coming in and they were taking over all of these, Hebrew Israelite, which, they call it blacks and African American, all these organizations, whether it would be, with the NAACP, or with like the Southern Christian Law Poverty Center or whatever it's called. But anyway, all of that stuff, they would come in and then they would basically be running these organizations, and so they were playing both sides of the fence. They got people that's persecuting us, on one hand, but then they come in and say, oh, we're the friends, these Jewish people are our friends. And they basically was getting us to voting for Democrats who basically don't believe in God, you see? So, you know what I mean? So we're caught in the middle, not knowing what side should we be on. If we with these conservatives, but they supporting these white racists who have been, calling themselves Christians and done all this stuff to us. Whereas if we go with these, for our civil rights, people who are standing up for the atrocities, but these people openly reject God, you see? So now they got us caught in a pickle, you see? So this is where you have to understand that these liberals don't believe in God. So at the end of the day, you're supposed to stand with the Most High Yah. We don't care whether or not the conservatives believe in the Father Yah or not. You know what I'm saying? We have to, because now that we know that we're the true Israelites, we're the ones with the covenant, okay? But now what everybody was telling me and, sending me about Anna, talking about how they persecuted her, Canary Mission has persecuted her. And that's what in my last video, I showed how Canary Mission had done me, right? So if you haven't seen the video, make sure you go back and watch it. But now let's go in and break down who she is, right? And then we can see the little flip that they're trying to do and rebrand her, and change her image, to being this person who's such a humanitarian and standing for human rights and all this kind of crap after all the things that she's already on record of saying. Now let's go and let's unpack who she really is.
These comments might be strong, but it's how I genuinely feel. I don't care that you're a Christian. I don't care what the Bible says. I feel like it's a clown show, sitting here trying to decipher what your little mythical book has to say about these very real political issues, right? I don't care if you're Christian. In fact, I will fight for you to have your religious liberty and practice your Christianity. I believe in that. I don't believe in Christianity, which means that you do not get to dictate the way I live my life based on your religion. I don't care what the Bible says. You have every right in the world. All those women who identify with your religion have every right in the world to not get an abortion, to not take birth control, but they do not have the right to dictate my life and what I decide to do with my body. I don't care about your goddamn religion. I'm so tired of having nonstop conversations about what the Bible says.
All right, so you see her vitriol towards Christianity, right? You see what she said about the Bible, right? You see where she said the Bible was a mythological book. That's what she said. She said she don't believe in all this type of stuff, right? Now, this is the person who, you don't believe in God, you don't believe in the book and whatever, so you're a liberal. Well, as a liberal, that means you can do whatever the heck you want to do. You see what I'm saying? That's Satanism. Do as thou wilt shall be the rule of the whole law, right? That's what they say. You can do anything you want to do, right? So why is she sitting up here trying to tell somebody what's morally right and what's morally wrong? You know what I'm saying? When you don't believe in a God and you just think you can do whatever you want to do, right? But now I want to show y'all what her and Chink from the Young Turks, right? What they said when these people were trying to bring in Satan after school program into the school system, right? They was basically arguing that because, Christians were having after school programs, that Satanists should have after school programs, but then they try to diminish it and make it look like, oh, the Satans were just trying to do this just because they were trying to provoke these Christians and make a point. But you're still arguing on behalf of Satanists. So whether or not you're a closet Satanist or not, or whether or not you call yourself an atheist, you're still against the Most High Yah, period. Now let me show y'all the next clip.
A new after-school club at Golden Hills Elementary School in California called the After School Satan Club has parents in a tizzy. They are outraged. How dare they bring the devil to campus? Well, the St. Temple has actually launched several of these after-school Satan clubs, even though they don't worship Satan. That's not what this is about. And it's a direct response to schools with evangelical after-school programs, often specifically targeting the Good News Club. Now, in 2001, the United States Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Good News Club when a New York school district sought to prevent the group from holding meetings on school grounds after school hours. The Supreme Court actually ruled that the district could not discriminate against groups based on their viewpoints, and because comparable secular groups were allowed to operate, the Good News Club must also be accommodated. Okay, so that was the Supreme Court's ruling. Keep in mind, this is after school. This religious group is having their meetings on campus, but it's allowed. Okay, SCOTUS says this is A-OK, you can't discriminate against them. Now, the ruling did open the doors to both religious groups meeting in public schools, but also for the proliferation of after-school Satan clubs as intended counterweights. The clubs created controversy in Illinois, in Ohio earlier this year. In fact, I think we talked about the case in Lebanon, Ohio specifically. Now, again, let me reiterate, the Satanic Temple does not advocate for religion in schools. However, once religion invades schools, as the Good News clubs have, the Satanic Temple will fight to ensure that plurality and true religious liberty are respected.
All right, so y'all see, she sits up here and tells, well, that's not really what they're trying to do. You know what I mean? They're not trying to just bring in it. They're not really believing in Satan and all this type of stuff. How do you know? Were you part of the group? How do you know what they believe? You see what I'm saying? How are you such an expert that you could tell, well, even though it's not this and whatever, the bottom line is the people were trying to bring in a satanic after school program, right? That's what happened, right? Let's go back to the clip.
And again, this is a non-theistic, religious organization. They don't actually worship the devil. They don't actually believe in Satan. it's meant to, again, be like a counterweight to the religion or religious after-school programs infiltrating these public schools. Cenk, what do you think about this?
So I'm torn on their branding, right? On the one hand, it's kind of rubbing their face in it and going, well, if you allow a so-called God, you have to allow so-called Satan, right? And that does scare the bejesus out of right-wingers, so it might be effective in getting them to reconsider. On the other hand, the atheist position is the correct position. And so calling it the Satan Club is going to drive people away and have them freak out too much. Like, so for people in that club and for atheists and agnostic folks that are not religious in this country or anywhere, you all know that it's mythology. And
for atheists and agnostic folks that are not religious in this country or anywhere, you all know that it's mythology, and
they're getting really mad over Zeus and Athena, right? And so you find that funny or irrelevant, right? And I get it, I'm in that club, right? But remember, they think it's real. They think that there's an actual Satan. And when you say Satan Club, they think Beelzebub is going to come into the school, and they get really freaked out by it, right? But in terms of religious folks, I also want to address you guys. I just addressed the atheists, right? So guys, I know you think Satan exists, and you think like, oh, I think he can enter people's bodies and talk funny, whatever you got. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm being condescending, okay? But my point is, understand that we don't think Satan is real.
This freaking B-roll.
Right, I know. We think that, we think that's funny, that's hilarious, right? We don't think that any such fictional character exists, right? Like we look at that and we go, are you serious? You think that thing actually exists, right? So when non-religious people talk about Satan, for you religious folks, don't get scared. We don't mean it, we're having a laugh, right? Because to us, it's like talking about Dumbledore, okay? So that's why we're miscommunicating. But yeah.
So the reaction from parents has been entertaining. I think it's disgusting, said one parent.
Of course.
I think it's wrong and it shouldn't be in the school, said another. But I mean, the floodgates have been opened, right? And if you don't want your kid to be part of this situation, then pick up your kid after school. Don't let them stay there after school.
Yeah, I mean.
All right, so y'all see, their position is that of an atheist and agnostic, right? That there is no God, there is no devil. It's none of that. It's all mythology. It's all just a mythological book, right? That's what you've heard them say, right? Psalm 14, and this is what it says. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good. The Lord looked down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there were any that did understand and seek God. They are all gone aside. They are altogether become filthy. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. Have all the workers of iniquity no knowledge, who eat up my people as they eat bread, and call not upon the Lord? There were they in great fear, for God is in the generation of the righteous. You have shamed the counsel of the poor, because the Lord is his refuge. Oh, that the salvation of Israel will come out of Zion. When the Lord bringeth back the captivity of his people, Jacob shall rejoice, and Israel shall be glad. So you see, they sitting here laughing and giggling when right now we're beginning to see when the Lord bringeth back the captivity of his people, right? Now that we're waking up, now all they want to do is start talking against Israel, knowing that those people are not the true Israelites. Let's read that verse 7 one more time. Oh, that the salvation of Israel will come out of Zion. When the Lord bringeth back the captivity of his people, Jacob shall rejoice, and Israel shall be glad. That's why we understand what's going on, and they don't.
Look, again, the argument is compelling because, especially if you're religious and you do believe in it, then you think, well, if I open the door to God, I'm accidentally also opening the door to Satan. And that really scares them, right?
What a pickle.
I know, so but guys, that's why we shouldn't intermingle religion with the government. You know what happens if you do that? Iran happens, Saudi Arabia happens, Satan happens, okay, according to you guys. So be careful what door you're opening.
Why can't people be like Jewish people when it comes to religion? Okay, I'm just gonna be honest, and people will probably be offended. I don't care. Jewish people are my favorite religious people. You wanna know why? Because they don't want you. They don't want you. Like, in fact, if you want to convert to Judaism, it is one of the most difficult things in the world. They don't go around trying to force their religion onto you. They're the best, right? Live and let live, believe and let believe. Like, why do I have to believe what you believe?
Yeah, no, the fact that they leave us alone is wonderful.
Oh, they're the best.
Okay.
All right, so you just heard what she said. Oh, the Jewish people, they're the best, right? Well, what do we know about the Jewish people, right? Revelation 2:9. I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. So you just heard these two sitting up here talking about they the best. Oh yeah, da 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 da. But the devil doesn't exist, right? Well, the Bible tells us that there are Jews who say they are Jews and are not, and they are really the synagogue of Satan. Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. So here she is talking about they're the best. Yeah, because they're the synagogue of Satan, and you're a part of them. So next, let's go look up Anna Kasparian, or whatever her name is, right? Anna Misak Kasparian, born July 7th, 1986, is an American independent political commentator, media host, and journalist. She is a host and producer of the online news show, The Young Turks, having begun working as a fill-in producer for the show in 2007. She also appeared on the television version of the show that aired on Current TV. She formerly hosted The Point on the TYT network and co-hosted a Jacobin YouTube show, Weekend with Anna Kasparian and Nando Vila, right? Early life and education. Kasparian is the daughter of Armenian immigrant parents. Her paternal great-grandparents experienced the Armenian genocide firsthand in 1915. She was raised in the Reseda neighborhood of Los Angeles. She grew up speaking Armenian as her first language and started kindergarten without being able to speak a word of English. All right, so we see she's Armenian. Where is Armenia? So as y'all can see from the maps, you see where Armenia is? You see the Black Sea, you see Ukraine and Russia, right? Armenia is right there in the Caucasus Mountain region, between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. What else do we know from this channel used to be the kingdom in that region? Yep, there it is. Y'all see it. The Khazar Khaganate, the Khazars. So Armenians were also Khazars. They were part of that kingdom. Now let's go back to the video.
So my dad is a believer. He's a man of faith, right? He's Christian. I was raised Christian, and I have disappointed my parents by moving away from that. But nonetheless.
All right. So y'all heard what she said. She said that she doesn't believe in the Bible. The Bible is a myth, right? And that she is not a Christian. You know what I'm saying? Her father was a Christian, but she has walked away from the faith. You heard her say that, okay? Now let's go and look at the rest of this video from a Luciferian perspective. All right, let's go back to the Albert Pike thing, and then I'm gonna show y'all some more clips. Let's go. All right, so y'all see it again. Here's the Albert Pike letter to Mazzini about the 3 world wars. Okay, I'm not gonna go over that. Let's just jump down to the 3rd World War. The 3rd World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati. Okay, so the agentur of the Illuminati between the political Zionists, so that's the state of Israel, and the leaders of the Islamic world, okay? The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other, okay? So now you see why they're playing, the Luciferians will play both sides of this so they can control this dispute, this war, right? Why? Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists. So you already see them unleashing an atheist who's basically now trying to tell us what to think and believe. And we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere, Christians obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries, right? So now you see they're turning people against Christianity and against Israel, right? Will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. All right, so next we pick this up, 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 13 through 15. And it says, for such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. Remember this. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness. So they basically try to tell you what's right and what's wrong, whose end shall be according to their works. Now, in this next clip, I want y'all to see how she sits here in front of a panel of Israelites, right? They call them blacks and African Americans, but look at how she gets to command the room. Check it out.
I got to jump in on this because, look, I think this is a problem regardless of what administration is in charge. We should not engage in this war. Look, there's a lot of saber rattling. There's a lot of fear mongering about Iran building nuclear weapons, even though the intel is obviously contradicting. You have Israel saying weeks ago, they shared their intel with the United States and the administration rejected it. Our intelligence community rejected it. They said Iran is not weeks away from building a nuclear weapon. But you want to know something? There are two countries in this whole scenario that do have nuclear weapons. One, of course, is the United States of America. The other, they don't acknowledge it, is Israel. So they act like, oh, we're just little lambs, and well, it's such a big threat. Okay. The whole thing about nuclear weapons, the reason why the United States can't allow Ukraine to do whatever it wants against Russia is because they're a nuclear power. It is a deterrent.
Well, Ukraine had nukes, remember.
Israel doesn't want Iran to have a deterrent. Now, in a perfect world, neither of those countries would have nuclear weapons, but one of them does, and the one that does loves to cry about how it's always under threat while it's bombing Iranian embassies in places like Syria, while it's literally allowing its IDF soldiers to shoot at international diplomats as they're visiting Jenin. Like, are we ever going to at least address the belligerence of the current Israeli government?
Also shooting at people in Gaza when they're trying to get aid.
That's a full-blown genocide.
All right, so now y'all see, in the space of 2 to 3 years from when that clip was with her and Chink sitting up here, arguing on behalf of the Satanists, talking about, oh, the Bible is just, fiction, it's all mythological and all this type of stuff, to now Miss Know-It-All gets to go on CNN in front of a room full of blacks, you know what I mean, and start talking about Israel, right? So you see what they're doing? They're sitting up here making blacks think ill of Israel when we are the Israelites. You see what I'm saying? They didn't sitting here now. The people who stole our identity, they're telling us, yeah, they're bad, they're bad, they're bad. But they still not telling us they stole y'all's identity and y'all are really the Israelites. You know that, right? Because they don't care. It's all mythology, you see? And here she is, sitting up here, running her mouth after she was sitting up here arguing on behalf of Satanists. Now you are the moral authority in the room? Really? Right? But now I want y'all to look at this again, right? We're going to bring this back. Look at it again. And I want y'all to look at how when the black man starts talking, she overtalks him, right? And then you look as she's talking, look at the women, the black women, how they just got them and head down and all this type of stuff. You see, and it's the imagery of them talking to us, right? Telling us what to do. They're the head. This is what these liberals do. They get in positions of leadership and then start talking down to us. So now watch it again, and this time watch it from a different perspective.
Jump in on this because look, I think this is a problem regardless of what administration is in charge. We should not engage in this war. Look, there's a lot of saber rattling. There's a lot of fear mongering about Iran building nuclear weapons, even though the intel is obviously contradicting. You have Israel saying weeks ago, they shared their intel with the United States and the administration rejected it. Our intelligence community rejected it. They said Iran is not weeks away from building a nuclear weapon. But you want to know something? There are two countries in this whole scenario that do have nuclear weapons. One, of course, is the United States of America. The other, they don't acknowledge it, is Israel. So they act like, oh, we're just little lambs, and it's such a big threat. Okay, the whole thing about nuclear weapons, the reason why the United States can't allow Ukraine to do whatever it wants against Russia is because they're a nuclear power. It is a deterrent.
Well, Ukraine had nukes, remember.
Israel doesn't want Iran to have a deterrent. Now, in a perfect world, neither of those countries would have nuclear weapons, but one of them does, and the one that does loves to cry about how it's always under threat while it's bombing Iranian embassies in places like Syria, while it's literally allowing its IDF soldiers to shoot at international diplomats as they're visiting Jenin. Like, are we ever going to at least address the belligerence of the current Israeli government?
Also, all right, so did y'all see it? Right? You see how she was the leading voice in the room? Right? You see what Malcolm X was talking about when he said the liberals, they're the fox? You know, those are the ones you can't trust because they always try to get in position of the blacks, right? And lead us, you see? So here it is. She's sitting up here talking about Israel to Israelites. You know what I mean? You can't make this stuff up, right? But now, you know what I'm saying? And this is what I find awful ironic of how her video just happened to come out, you know what I'm saying? Right around the same time as mine did. But I don't think it was in response to me. Could have been, who knows, right? But when Benaiah Israel put his video out about Canary Mission, he put it out 3 or 4 days ago, right? His video is the one that came out. I came off of his video, right? But then all of a sudden, here they are talking about Canary Mission because the Israelites were talking about Canary Mission, right? You had all this time to do it. Why are you just now doing it now? When he goes in and finds out what they've done, and now he starts, you know what I mean, exposing the shadowy Israeli involvement behind it, right? So now I want y'all to see her portion of her video where her and Chink. Now, remember, these are the same people that say they love Jewish people. Yeah, they're the best, right? And all this type of stuff, right? Now, all of a sudden that she's being threatened and now the Israeli people are on her, she ain't gonna say nothing about no Jewish people. It's gonna be the Israelis, right? Watch this.
Okay, well, I want to begin with something personal and kind of get it out of the way, kind of send a message about who I am, what works with me and what doesn't work with me. And one thing that I can be very clear about is attempts to intimidate me don't work. So let's talk about what I mean. Over the weekend, I noticed that I have become a target of one of these pro-Israeli groups. It's a shadowy group, doesn't disclose who it's funded by and what they're really about. It's called Canary Mission. Canary Mission happens to be one of those pro-Israel groups that has targeted all sorts of pro-Palestine, pro-peace students at universities like Columbia, Harvard, Tufts. Think Mahmoud Khalil. Unfortunately, he became one of the targets of Canary Mission. So did Rumiesa Ozturk, who simply wrote co-wrote, I should say, an op-ed for her student newspaper at Tufts University calling for the divestment of Israeli companies because of the ongoing genocide in Gaza. So typically they engage in these targeting campaigns, and typically these targeting campaigns work. In fact, the individuals that I just spoke about spent time behind bars because of what Canary Mission does. They have a website essentially doxing anybody who's been critical of Israel. And I think that they're particularly gross. If you go on their website, they also target other organizations, and news organizations are included in there, including Students for Justice in Palestine, Students United for Palestinian Equal Rights. Ooh, can't have that. Jewish Voice for Peace is also a target of the Canary Mission. AJ Plus, Al Jazeera English, Al Jazeera Media Network. Anyone simply associated or part of the BDS movement is also a target. You'll go on their website and they list people's identity. And even though no one's committed any crimes, no one's done anything wrong, most of these people haven't even said a single thing that's pro-Hamas or anti-Semitic, doesn't matter. The mere fact that these people have been critical of Israel's genocide and slaughter campaign in Gaza and the West Bank, by the way, becomes a target.
Now, call me a conspiracy theorist all you want to, right? But now Israel just put his video out and he talked about them doxing. That's what he talked about. Y'all seen it in my video, right? Here she comes along a couple days later after he puts out about doxing, and she talks about all of these groups that Canary Mission has been attacking, right? But what group did she not mention? I wish I had the Jeopardy music right now because it would be going playing in the background, right? What group did she leave off? You know, the Hebrew Israelites. You see what I'm saying? Now, is that a coincidence that right after this man put out this video warning us about them doing all that, then they come in and then it's like they're going to try to teach us, because you know a lot of us be watching the young Turks, be watching this, and oh yeah, I've heard of that Canary Mission, right? Now all of a sudden, you know, here they come, because B'nai Israel then expose them. Oh, well, it's they're going after the Jewish people too, right? They're going after anybody that speaks against Palestine, right? But we know, and I know personally, they've been coming after us because we've been exposing them for being the frauds, the Jews who say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. But see, now that they coming after you, now that they threatening you, you and Chink gonna sit up here, and now y'all gonna talk about, oh, they're coming after us, they want to murder us, da-da-da. But you don't believe in the devil, remember? You see what I'm saying? You love the Jewish people, remember? But do you love the synagogue of Satan? And they come and pull up at your door? Now, see if you're gonna argue for them now. Let's go back to the video.
So I'm one of their targets, and I welcome their hatred because I think what they do is disgusting. I think what they provide cover for will go down in history as one of the worst genocides in human history. And I live in the United States of America. I'm an American. I'm proud to be an American. I'm not an Israeli. There's no law on the books that indicates that I have to support Israel in any way, shape, or form. And in fact, as Israel continues its genocide against the Palestinian people, I will continue to speak out against them, unafraid. Now, with that in mind, this organization has this on the front page of their website today to kind of give you a sense of the kind of garbage, the kind of bile you can experience from the so-called work that they put out. They're targeting Zoran Mamdani, who of course is the mayoral candidate in New York City, who's poised to win that race. And the reason why they don't like him is because, well, I mean, has he said anything anti-Semitic? No. Is he a jihadist? No. Does he believe in Sharia law? No. He just happens to be a Muslim American who wants to represent the city of New York rather than get down on his knees and fillet the government of Israel, like most other American politicians do. And you know, Canary Mission can't have that. So now that we're like familiar with who they are, we should talk about how successful they've been in dog walking various members of the United States government. So for instance, the federal government has admitted working with Canary Mission to punish critics of Israel. Okay, so Peter Hatch, an agent with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, said the department had assembled a specialized group dubbed a Tiger Team to work on removing pro-Palestine college students from the country. He indicated to the court that some tips about students were communicated verbally before explaining that the team had also combed through the nearly 5,000 profiles Canary Mission had compiled of Israel's critics. You mean someone said, here is a list that the Canary Mission has put together? Judge William Young asked Hatch, according to court's transcripts. The official answered with a simple yes. Pathetic. Also, Haaretz recently revealed that Israel is using the information found on the Canary Mission site to ban entry into the country of some of the people the website follows, including Lara Al-Qassam, the American student barred from entering Israel for graduate studies at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Now, luckily, I would never step foot on Israeli soil because I find that government utterly disgusting. And I see that country as a threat, not just to the Palestinian people, but to that entire region, the region of the Middle East. And their funding is super shadowy. I can get into their funding in just a second, but after they made me a target, Cenk, I got some really interesting messages. So first off, let me just say they put a post up on their Instagram page. And the comments on that post kind of gives you a sense of the type of people that we as Americans are supposed to do everything for. We're supposed to love them. We're supposed to give them our hard-earned taxpayer dollars so they can commit the genocide in Gaza. We're not supposed to criticize anything they're up to. Let me give you a few examples. Here's one person. You will meet your demise for all the unjust damage you have caused, just like Candace Owens. Oh, nice threat. It will be your turn soon. Those who hurt Jewish nation historically, whether collectively or individually, received their brutal karma sooner or later. Your time will be up soon.
All right. So y'all see how they didn't threw Candace Owens in there? Now, is Candace Owens a leftist liberal? No, she's a conservative. Now, all of a sudden, Miss Liberal over here is being thrown in the same sentence with Candace. Oh, now all of a sudden she's an American, right? She's all proud to be an American. She sounded like MAGA to me. You see what I'm saying? But now all of a sudden, they're on you now, right? You love the Jewish people, but you notice she didn't say anything about the Jewish state of Israel. Now they're Israelis. You see, this is the word games that they play with everybody, right? Now you just watch the rest of this. Now that she's going to start explaining what they've done to her, right? Now all of a sudden, these Israeli government and the United States government, are the ones who are actually behind all of this Canary Mission stuff, not the Jewish people.
So that's a very specific death threat that's saying we're gonna kill you. Because by the way, when Israelis say they're gonna kill you, they probably are. I mean, so every threat from an Israeli is super serious. Right now, their government is run by a bunch of psychotic serial killers. And honestly, this is not a new phenomenon. In 2018, when the Palestinians were doing a peaceful protest, walking up to the wall, the IDF murdered every single one of them. Sniper shots, killed them all in a peaceful protest. Killed an American journalist covering it with a sniper shot to the neck. So when I've had the IDF write my name on a bomb, now this is one of many death threats that Anna got. She's gonna read you the rest of them. But I'm assuming we're gonna have congressional hearings right after this video goes up, right? Mm-hmm. Because I know that I don't know of a single death threat that was made to a single pro-Israeli student on any college campus. I've heard, oh my God, they had to walk around to get to a class. Oh, somebody said something against Israel. Whatever it was, believe me, if there was a death threat, we would have all heard about it 2 billion times, right? Okay, but now you have death threats against normal Christian and Muslim Americans.
Okay, but now you have death threats against normal Christian and Muslim Americans.
All right, so you see, Cenk even went so far as to say, they're threatening a Muslim and a Christian. Who's the Christian? What Christian you say they threatened? Because she said she wasn't no Christian, right?
Will there be congressional hearings?
Of course not.
Of course not.
Hold on,
of course
Cenk.
not.
This is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm starting with the more, when you look at the grand scheme of things and everything I'm gonna share with you, that seemed benign. Okay, here's another one.
None of them are benign. They're all threats and they're all disgusting.
Slaughter you, bitch. I mean, slaughter is what you guys specialize in. Let me continue. Here's another guy. I will kick your ass if I see you, bitch. Go to Gaza, bitch. Let's see. You are a Nazi bitch. And then ended it with an FU and middle fingers. Here's another person. Too bad she's not in Gaza.
So listen, there's two things I gotta address real quick.
Sure.
Because they think, man, if we had you in Gaza, then we'd murder you.
Yeah, just like they're murdering everyone else in Gaza, intentionally.
Right. So, I mean, it's a confession wrapped in a death threat, right? Oh, please come to Gaza so we can murder you like the Israeli government always does. But we're so mad at you for criticizing us. Oh, you were so wrong to criticize us for being genocidal killers. That's why we're gonna murder you if you come to Gaza, right? And if anyone dares to criticize, we'll threaten them to ruin their lives by calling them anti-Semites, Nazis, etc. We'll threaten to fire them, arrest them, deport them. And then if none of that works, we'll threaten to murder you here on American soil.
And here's the thing, Cenk. I'm an American citizen. I was born and raised here. My parents came here legally. They're naturalized citizens, and then they gave birth to me. So they can't denaturalize me the way that Trump has threatened to do on behalf of Israel when it comes to other American citizens who have been critical of Israel. I'm also not implicated in a pedophile blackmail ring. I've got no skeletons in my closet. So the only thing they've got left is to try to scare me, intimidate me, and say that they're going to murder me. And guess what? It's not gonna work. Let me give you more. Here's another person who says, she better lives by an emergency room.
But see, now all of a sudden you see how people start transforming, right? Start changing. Now all of a sudden, now they want to tell people the difference between what's right and what's wrong, But at the same point in time, it's awful strange that all this stuff comes out right after Benaiah Israel made his video. You see what I'm saying? But it is what it is. I'm a conspiracy theorist. It might not. They may have already had it planned. I don't know. But I'll tell you this. I don't trust them. You see? And you shouldn't either. Now, before I get out of here, I want to give a shout out to Sister Jacqueline French, right? She just recently commented to me, right? And she had made this book a long time ago. I got this book, years ago. And I read it. And it's a good book, right? And for those of you, you know what I'm saying? The brothers and sisters in here, you know what I mean? She is a sister that watches the video, you know what I'm saying? And let me read this to y'all real quick. There is an order to this madness, often distributed by the consistent and ongoing injustice, particularly on the part of the judicial court system and by other forms of institutionalized racism that have plagued the Black community for centuries. I struggle to understand why we as a people seem to be targeted, denigrated, and hated by many in the larger society. This phenomenon, I've noticed, is not just limited to our American borders, but extends into other lands where many Blacks reside. As a people, we are the most impoverished, the highest among the numbers of unemployed, the greatest with medical health issues, and the lowest among business ownerships. Further, we are generally the last to be hired, but the first to be fired. Why is this? As I sought God for answers to what I consider to be chaotic madness with no rhyme or reason, He showed me that there is in fact an order to this madness. Through His word, He opened my understanding to exactly what that order is. Inspired by my discovery, I was compelled by the Almighty to write this book and relay all the truths that He has revealed to me concerning His hidden ones and the time of their great awakening. Okay, and this is her book, and you can pick this up on Amazon. All right, and there's no paid advertisement. She ain't tell me to do it. When she just messaged me and told me she had wrote another book. And then when she showed me her books that she had wrote before, I was like, oh, I already got that book. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I got your book a long time ago. So anyway, I just want to give a shout out to the sister. Now let's go close this thing up with scripture, right? And then we'll get out of here. All right, so let's go ahead and pick this up. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 1, it reads, but there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privately shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that bought them. So if you got somebody who denies the Lord, you know not to follow them, okay? And bring upon themselves swift destruction. And many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. So remember, her and she sat up there and said that, you know what? The Bible was just all of mythology, right? They spoke evil of the way of truth. And through covetousness, right, shall they with vain words make merchandise of you. Well, how are they making merchandise out of you? Got you sitting up here watching the young Turks and turning against the Most High Yah, right? whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not. For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment. Well, remember, the Bible tells us that the devils believe and they tremble, right? But these two, they didn't even believe in the devil or God, right? And it spared not the whole world, but saved Noah, the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in a flood upon the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an ensample unto those that after should live ungodly, and deliver just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked, right? So that conversation we seen them having, talking about, Christians having, after school programs to teach about the Most High Yah and the only begotten Son, that was a bad thing, and they equivocated it to, Satan, him having, little after school programs, and they sitting up here having this filthy conversation, right? For that righteous man dwelling among them, us dwelling among these type of liberal heathens, and seeing and hearing vex his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished, right? So that's why he says with the Israelites, he gonna come get us, and any Gentile who's grafted in, he coming to get us. Rest of these heathen, they gonna get punished, right? Verse 10, but chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness and despise government. So you see how they always talking against the government? You know what I'm saying? Presumptuous are they? Self-willed. They are not afraid to speak evil of dignities, right? Because they don't believe in law and order, right? Verse 11, whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bring not railing accusation against them before the Lord. But these, as natural brute beasts, made to be taken and destroyed, speak evil of the things that they understand not. So when you call the Bible and say that the Bible, I don't want your religion, I don't believe that Bible is mythology, right? You're speaking evil of something that you don't understand, heathen, and shall utterly perish in their own corruption, and shall receive the reward of unrighteousness, as they that count it pleasure to riot in the daytime. Who's the ones telling everybody to always go out rioting out there? You know what I'm saying? Got our people always rioting, all this type of stuff. These liberals, spots they are and blemishes, sporting themselves with their own deceivings while they feast with you, right? So who's always coming into the black communities? The liberals, right? Having eyes full of adultery, and they cannot cease from sin, beguiling unstable souls, and heart they have exercised with covetous practices, cursed children, which have forsaken the right way, and are gone astray, following the way of Balaam, the son of Bozor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness, but was rebuked for his iniquity. The dumbass speaking with man's voice forbade the madness of the prophet. These are wells without water, clouds that are carried with a tempest, to whom the midst of darkness is reserved forever. For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lusts of the flesh, through much wantonness, those that were clean escape from them who live in error. While they promise them liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption. So you see this? These liberals always want to promise people liberty, saying that you don't have to believe in law and order, saying that you don't have to believe in the Most High's law and order, right? And that's why they go in as feminists and they attack women, and they have told our women that you don't need to be liberated from your husband and from men ruling over you. You see what I'm saying? Going against the Most High Yah. So this is why you got to understand when these liberals come at you, that you got to learn how to rebuke them, and you don't go along with them, right? Because while they promising them liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption, for of whom a man is overcome of the same as he brought in bondage. For if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world through the knowledge of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, they are again entangled therein and overcome, the latter end is worse with them than the beginning. Where here it is, this woman, you know what I'm saying, said that her father gave her the knowledge of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and she has rejected it now, right? Verse 21, for it had been better for them, for her, not to have known the way of righteousness, than after they have known it, to turn from the holy commandment delivered unto them. But it has happened unto them according to the true proverb. The dog is turned to his own vomit again, and the sow that was washed to her wallowing in the mire. So y'all see, Anna K, TYT, the Young Turk, you know what I'm saying? Kazar, you know what I'm saying, from that region. She was washed, but that sow has turned to her wallowing in the mire, the mud, the filth. Now she's running around here as a filthy heathen, trying to run around here and teach people what's right and what's wrong. You don't even understand none of the things that you're talking about. You see what I'm saying? And now you want to come in and be trying to tell us and lead us. And now all of a sudden you want to talk against, these Israeli people that you call yourself in love with. You were just saying that, you love the Jewish people because they don't try to put no rules on you. But guess what? They over here running the whole world. What are you talking about? Now all of a sudden you don't know what to say anymore because they're after you. And as long as they come after you, now all of a sudden they bad, huh? But y'all still are so slick with it that y'all want to say the Israeli government. You know what I mean? Playing that little word game. You don't want to say the Jewish people. You don't want to say that, right? But y'all want to sit up here and say that you don't have to believe in the Most High Yah, that's just myth and all this that you were saying, all that smart mouth that y'all was doing. But now all of a sudden when they talk about wanting to kill you, oh, they're trying to kill Muslims and Christian Americans. Well, y'all was acting like y'all was secular. Y'all didn't belong to neither one of them two groups. So why y'all speaking up? You know what I'm saying? You know what? Live your lane. That's what you said. That's what you was walking in. Now live it. You know what I'm saying? But see, now you understand, before you didn't believe in the devil. It's all a myth. Well, the Bible tells us that the devil, the Jews who say they are Jews, the synagogue of Satan, you know what I'm saying? Mankind worshiping these people. And who are they? The thief comes to steal, to kill, and destroy. That's what it tells us about the enemy. You're of your father, the devil, right? The works of your father, you will do. So now when you start seeing these people running around here killing, right? The Palestinians, stealing the identity of the true Israelites, right? And destroying, you know what I'm saying? Christianity and Islam in the same thing so they can bring in Luciferianism. You don't understand it, but we do. So that's why you don't teach us. You sit down in the back and close your mouth. With that being said, thank y'all for watching. Most High bless each and every one of y'all. Till we meet again. Shalom.